Britain's Chris Froome. Photo, AP. Is the 2018 Tour de France the worst sporting event of all time? It's certainly up there. Before it started all, the organizers sought to exclude reigning champion Chris Froome because of his positive dope test at last year's Vuelta, only to have the ground cut from under their feet when the sport's governing body, on somewhat dubious grounds, opted not to suspend the rider. This hammer blow to the race's credibility set the tone for the month. Two of Froome's main rivals, Richie Porte and Vincenzo Nibali, were forced to withdraw after crashes, the latter breaking his back after becoming entangled with a spectator's camera strap. Froome and his Sky teammates were booed and heckled by the French crowd, while their team supremo Dave Brailsford reacted with a string of xenophobic comments which suggested an attempt to curry favor with the Brexiteers back home. Sky rider Johnny Moscon was thrown out of the race for punching an opponent in the head. And when French farmers protested on the road in Stage 16, the yacht police response resulted in the race being stopped for 15 minutes as riders tried to recover from being sprayed with tear gas. When, a day later, Froome was pulled off his bike by a policeman who thought he was an encroaching spectator, it just seemed par for the course. The 2018 Tour seemed to perfectly mirror the political unclimatic chaos of the wider world. While all this was going on, there was a changing of the guard at the helm as the hot favorite Froome was eclipsed by his relatively unfancied teammate Geraint Thomas. There was a time when the triumph of the Welshman, who'd never finished higher than 15th in a major tour before, would have seemed like a stirring victory against the odds. But these days at the Tour you don't know who to believe in. It's as though everyone is riding with an asterisk against their name. The problem that this loss of credibility poses for the race is evident in this year's television viewing figures, which were down 25% in Belgium, 18% in the UK, 13% in France and 8% in Spain. In the minds of many one-time fans, the Tour has become a kind of pro wrestling without the snappy storylines and spangly costumes. Does this matter? I suppose you could say it's past time for the whole rotten spectacle to get its comeuppance. Yet there was a time when the Tour was one of the wonders of the sporting world, with its mass sprint finishes, its alpine attacks, and the way the narrative of the race changed and developed over the 3 weeks. It seemed the ultimate example of sport pushing what is physically possible to the very limits. There was something superhuman about the deeds of Merckx, of Anquetil, of Coppi and of Armstrong. They all doped, of course. Closer to home, Sean Kelly twice failed drug tests. And while Stephen Roche has always denied doping, an Italian judicial investigation found that he took EPO near the end of his career. Everyone suspended their disbelief to an extent, perhaps because there was a tacit acknowledgement that the Tour is such an extreme test it's not all that surprising artificial means have been employed to help cyclists get through it. So why does the race seem particularly unpalatable now? Perhaps because the doping doesn't bother people as much as the apparent hypocrisy. Sky rode into town after Lance Armstrong had been exposed and swore they would win clean and provide a moral lead in the sport. But the much-touted theory of marginal gains now seems like just another brand of snake oil, and Sky's defenders have been forced to fall back on Armstrong's old defense that the doubters are merely jealous, while hinting that the ever-increasing load of circumstantial evidence against them stems from some kind of conspiracy. Their time will come. It is, after all, only 6 years since Miguel Indurain said about the Texan who'd surpassed his record of 5 Tour wins, "Even now I believe in his innocence." He has always respected all the regulations. He has won all the cases he's had. I think he will come back at Peel and try to show that he played fair all those years. He didn't though, did he? Maybe what we are witnessing now is Lance's last laugh. As Johnny Rotten intoned at the end of the very last Sex Pistols gig, "This is no fun at all. No fun. Ha ha ha. Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?" Sunday Indo Sport.